was exactly 37 weeks pregnant when I was going to count his kicks. I had noticed it took about 2 hours for him to make his normal kick count. So I had called my OB that morning to go get a non-stress test done.
Hi, everyone, and uh, happy Monday night. Happy Monday after Thanksgiving. It's Cyber Monday, but it's also the night before Giving Tuesday. And we are so excited. Welcome to our first ever Count the Kicks Baby Save webinar. This is going to be one memorable live event. On the eve of Giving Tuesday, we are excited to introduce you to families whose lives have been impacted by the Count the Kicks program. I'm Emily Price. I'm the CEO of Healthy Birthday Inc., the nonprofit organization that created Count the Kicks. Everyone deserves joy and positive birth outcomes in their journey. And that's what Count the Kicks helps create. It's all of us. Let's get right to the reason we are here, the babies. Joining us today are Baby Save Ruby and her mom, Emily, Dr. Jaleen Sims from Mississippi, Sonara's mom, Destiny, and Lena's mom, Carly Ann. We will start with Destiny, a mom from Iowa, and how she helped save her daughter's life. Take a look.
She is his best thing. She is a happy baby. I am so thankful she got here safely. I hadn't felt a kick all day, but what I did feel was hiccups. And I'm like, okay, Destiny, she's alive, because I can feel her hiccuping, but I don't know, in my head, I'm just like, something's just not right. It gave me a guide for something that I could do this time. And at this time, I feel like I had learned her. Like, if I drank, that day I tried to drink Pepsi. I tried to get some candy in me, and I mean, she wouldn't budge with the Pepsi, the candy, nothing. I still hadn't felt no kicks. Got in the car by myself, didn't even wake anybody up, because I'm like, oh, you know, everything was fine last night. I'm sure it's just me being paranoid tonight, and they're gonna send me back home tonight. The next thing I knew, I was in the operating room, and she was out within about 30 minutes, and she made the cutest little cry. I'm so glad I counted my baby kicks, because if I didn't, they were telling me that I probably would have lost her, just like my first child, if I didn't go in. That night I did. Count the kicks, I mean, it helped. It really did. It saved my baby's life. It really did. I am so blessed that she got here safely. And I'm so glad I listened to myself this time, and I listened to my body, and I counted my baby kicks. Listen to yourself. Listen to your body. Listen to your baby.
And joining us now live are Destiny and Sonara. And Destiny, words cannot express how grateful we are that Sonara is here and how fun it is that she's joining us right now, too. How are you guys? Tell us more about how you're doing.
We are good. She is amazing. I mean, I don't know what to say. She's great. I mean, she's growing. She's just, you see, she's so big. She's getting so tall. She's talking now. She loves saying pawpaw, and she's walking and running, and she's amazing. She's amazing. She moves so much. She's learning so much. Today I was so excited because she said the word me. I've been trying to teach her for so long, and she finally said it. So I'm blessed. I'm so
That,
blessed.
that is so exciting. It's so awesome to see you. And this is the reason why we all do this work and why it's so critical, because lives can be saved. Tell us a little bit more about your story, if you don't mind. How did you tell us more about how you first learned about Count the Kicks and why you knew it was important?
So I first learned about Count the Kicks probably when we were about 30, maybe even a little bit before that, 30 weeks pregnant, or like close to 27 weeks. But I had previously had a stillborn, so I just knew that how important it was to try to pay attention to my baby. And this time they showed me Count the Kicks, and I'm like, okay, this is something that I want to do, because when I lost my firstborn, I thought I knew I had stopped feeling my baby kick the day that she passed. And I had said something, and I mean, at first I was just like, oh, it's just nothing. But I think this time around, I knew what I went through. And the first time I knew my baby stopped kicking when she did. And after that, she was passed. And so this time I just knew I had to pay attention. And when I found out about Count the Kicks, I was on top of it. And that's the reason I got to the hospital that night that she was born, and she was here safely. She would have not have been here if I wasn't counting my kicks.
We are so glad that you knew about it and that you were using the app and paying attention to her movements. She is magnificent. She is just magnificent. And we're so glad you're here. What would be your message to anyone who is watching this right now about why they should share Count the Kicks with expectant parents, why they should invest in this work, why they should be a part of this community of game changers?
What I would say is the reason to be a part of it is to protect yourself and your baby. I know that most mothers just go into pregnancies hoping that it's a perfect pregnancy. That's how I went into my first pregnancy. And unfortunately, I dealt with stillborn. So I just think it's very important that mothers just take heed, even if your pregnancy is going amazing. You never know with the baby growing inside you, like the second. I mean, I think as mothers we know, but you just want to pay attention and be able to catch it as soon as possible, as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much. We're going to come back to you guys in just a few minutes, but thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your story. And we'll come back to you in just a few minutes. So, did you guys happen to know that $40 helps fully train a nurse or maternal health worker and Count the Kicks? We offer a CE training, which allows maternal health professionals to gain credits toward their licensure and equips them with information on how to have a kick counting conversation with expectant parents so that they handle those concerns properly every single time. When more health workers are trained and know the importance of movement monitoring, that is when lives are saved. Will you help us train more health workers this Giving Tuesday? For every $40, we can train one healthcare worker, but because donations are being matched for Giving Tuesday, we can actually train two health workers for every $40 donated. That's right. Generous donors have created a $10,000 match for this Giving Tuesday. If we receive up to $10,000, it will be matched because of generous donors who have created this match for us. So you can see a QR code on the screen and a link on the screen. We really could not do this work without supporters like you. And we just want to thank you already for your generosity and for making this work possible. So here is another powerful baby safe story. Kai Dalton's mom, Vanessa, wrote to us from Georgia to say that during her pregnancy, she learned about the importance of kick counting from her doula, who suggested that she use Count the Kicks app. She took her advice and downloaded and used the app regularly. She says her pregnancy with Kai Dalton was considered high risk, which meant that she was receiving extra care, going weekly for non-stress tests and biophysical profiles to monitor her pregnancy. Vanessa noticed that Kai Dalton's movements changed at 37 weeks, which Vanessa says was his way of telling her that something was wrong, and she felt empowered to speak up and let her providers know. Eventually, after her doctor investigated by an ultrasound and a biophysical profile, they made the decision to deliver Kai Dalton, knowing that he was in distress and his movements, his change in movements were telling them that. And then he noticed through the ultrasound and biophysical profile that things were different. When he arrived, he was tangled in his umbilical cord several ways and several times, which was severely restricting his movement. And Vanessa believes, and her doctor believes, that the app and Count the Kicks led to his safe arrival. Our organization has a commitment to keep the app totally free for expectant parents because we know it saves lives. These babies that you're meeting tonight and that you see on our social media feeds quite frequently are living proof that Count the Kicks works, and paying attention to movements and speaking up when you notice a change works. If you would like to make a donation to help us keep our app totally free, you can make a donation using the QR code on the screen or by visiting the bit.ly code that you see on the screen right now. This Giving Tuesday, thanks to those generous donors, again, that your donation will be matched up to $10,000. Not only is the Count the Kicks app completely free, available in 16 languages, it is life-saving, and users report that it reduces their anxiety during pregnancy. In a scientific study of Count the Kicks app users, 77% said it lowered their anxiety during pregnancy, and 84% of our app users say it helps them bond with their baby. Nothing gets much better than that. So I want to introduce you to Dr. Jaleen Sims from Mississippi. Dr. Sims is a board-certified OBGYN practicing at Jackson Hines Comprehensive Health Center in Jackson, Mississippi, and a maternal health consultant for the Mississippi State Department of Health. She is also the Associate Program Director for Wellness, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in the OBGYN residency program. Dr. Sims has a special interest in healthcare advocacy, maternal health, and healthcare disparities. She is also the co-founder and VP of Sims Foundation of Hope, a foundation that hosts community baby showers and an annual conference called Imagine You. Dr. Sims, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us and for being such a powerful advocate in Mississippi. Can you tell us more about why you have made it a personal mission to talk to expectant parents about Count the Kicks in Mississippi?
Sure. First, thank you for having me. And yes, I think when I want to say that I learned about this app, maybe it's been a little over a year ago at this point, maybe a year and a half ago. And, when a patient suffers a loss, as an OB, we suffer a loss as well. Now, it may hit a little different, but when our patients win, we win. When our patients suffer losses, we suffer those same losses. And I have had many losses, more than I would like to count. And of course, I've had many babies that were saved through, fetal kit counts. And so for me, I feel like if there is an app that can save a life from doing something as simple as counting movements, I am all in. I'm going to scream it at the mountaintops.
I am all in. I love that. You are a change maker. You are someone who's making a huge difference in the lives of families and the expectant parents that you work alongside and that you serve. Thank you so much for being all in and for your enthusiasm about the program. Describe firsthand what you see and when you educate someone on Count the Kicks and paying attention either through the app or fetal movement monitoring in general, through paper kit counting charts. What are the kind of responses that you get? What are the conversations like that you have?
So it's it goes two ways. So there are times when I say, hey, there's an app that helps you count your baby's movements. And sometimes, patients are like, well, my baby moves a lot. So, I don't need something like that. And then when I go and educate a little bit more about it and I tell them, look, this app actually helps you count your kicks by helping you determine when there are changes. So it may notice something before you actually discern that there's a change. And as a result, it will tell you, hey, go notify your provider. And that's when they're like, wait, it'll tell me to call you when there's some changes that the app notices. And when I tell them that, they're like, okay, all right, let me find out about this app. And of course, I give the materials that you all provide to us for free. Thank you for that. And so just as an example, recently I had a patient that came to clinic and she said, hey, my app told me to tell you that my kick counts were a little less than normal. And I'm like, wait, what? Okay. So then we started going through the app and we were looking at the numbers and everything, just kind of trying to look at the history and everything. So I do have an NST or non-stress test in my office. I put her on there, and on the monitor, we can actually have patients count their movements. And luckily for her, everything turned out okay. It was a normal stress test, and the movements picked up, but like they were decreased for a while. So now she is more inclined to continue to count the kicks with the app and let me know when she has differences. And so that really emphasized to her that this is really, really important.
And there are a lot of myths that you end up busting as a doctor, aren't there? Because there are so many unfortunate myths out there that are just over many decades that have been perpetuated. Things like, oh, your baby's just running out of room, they're just fine, or oh, just go drink some orange juice or some cold water. Those are all myths. So tell me more about um, the importance of myth busting and not buying into those old wives' tales that their baby's just running out of room, because in reality, um, the incidence of stillbirth does go up at the end, can go up at the end of pregnancy. And so those are the pregnancies that really will benefit from Count the Kicks. And that's why it's important, because these things can happen in very normal, healthy pregnancies. So tell me more about when people tell you some of those myths, like, oh, I'm fine, my baby moves all the time, or they're just running out of room. What do you tell them?
Well, so one of the things that I like to make sure that I tell patients is that your baby's going to move no matter what, as long as there's enough oxygen supply to your baby. So it's the same for us. Like, just because we're sleeping, like we turn over in our sleep, we still make moves. When we start walking faster, our heart rate is going to increase, and that just demonstrates that we have a good oxygen supply to our organs. So it's the same for a baby that's still on the inside. So as a result, when you start to notice that, oh, my baby's not moving, and oh, well, I'm 37 weeks, I'm 37, I'm 38 weeks, 39 weeks, there's less space. Just because there's less space doesn't mean your baby is not gonna move. Your uterus will stretch just like it has from 14 weeks all the way to 39, 40, 41 weeks. And so I try to make sure that people understand that it's related to the oxygen supply to the baby, whether opposed to things like, oh, well, I didn't eat this morning. When you think about it, you're not skin and bones. So you still have great nutrition in your system that your body is going to supply to your baby, no matter whether you eat it or whether it's stored in your system. So your baby's going to be able to move no matter what. Now, the difference may be whether you're like up moving around, and it'll be kind of similar to like when you have the baby on the outside, you rock the baby to sleep. That's your up and movement time. And the reason why babies, like they're so active at night, is because you're sleeping. So it's like, oh, well, you're not rocking me to sleep, so it must be time to get up and play. And so I just try to make sure that people understand, like what's happening on the inside, so that those myths about eating and drinking and things like that can like be busted and pushed away. One other thing is that we used to say really before this app came out is that we want to see your baby move 10 times in 1 to 2 hours. But that may be good for one person, but it may not be the same for another person. And that's why this app is important, because it actually tailors its response to you.
Because every baby is different, and every mom needs to get to know what's normal for their baby. That is such powerful advice. One baby's normal could be that they get to 10 movements in 4 minutes. Another baby's normal might be that they get to 10 movements in 45 minutes. And so that's 2 different babies, 2 different normals, 2 different moms that need to get to know what's normal. Dr. Sims, thank you so much for your powerful advocacy. We will also come back to you and the rest of the panel in just a few minutes. But thank you so much for all of the work that you are doing in Mississippi. We're so grateful. It is incredible how a community of donors has kept our app totally free, and this has helped lead to babies saved in 36 states that we know of, including Mississippi, where Dr. Sims is from. We could not do this without your support or the support of our awesome community of funders in these states making Count the Kicks available to expectant parents. We are excited to introduce you now to baby Lena and her mom, Carly Ann from Wyoming. Earlier this year, Carly Ann wrote to tell us that she used the Count the Kicks app in her pregnancy with Lena after she endured the stillbirth of her daughter, Ryan Marie, in 2020. The app was one way she eased her anxiety in her pregnancy with Lena. Carly Ann, welcome. Thank you so much for being here and joining us from Wyoming. It is awesome to see you. Can you tell us more about how the app eased your anxiety during your pregnancy after experiencing loss?
Yes, I think the two biggest things were to give you a way to make sure that you were tracking things. I know when I was pregnant with Lena, I also had our little rainbow baby James running around as a 1.5-year-old. And I can tell you there's days where you wonder if you've done anything. So to make sure that the app was there to remind me to say, hey, take 10 minutes, lay down, see what's going on with the baby, and to just check in. And then I think the thing that it just gave me such confidence moving forward to have data. So this might speak to being a little bit of a control freak, but especially after experiencing loss, I really wanted to take hold and try to understand what had happened and how to prevent it in the future. And Count the Kicks, like Dr. Sims just said, really gives you essentially charts to work from. It'll tell you if your kick counts are taking a little longer, or it can remind you to get in there and make sure you're tracking things. That was really helpful to have, just to keep myself at peace, and then also to provide to the doctor team when they needed it.
Carly Ann, you touched on something that is such a good point, that we get so busy in our daily lives. There are so many things that are taking our attention as expectant parents. There's work, there may be other children in the home. There's just so many things that are taking our time and our attention, keeping a home running, all of it. But this is one way, Count the Kicks is really one way that you can just carve out that time, that you can give yourself permission to sit down at the end of the day or whenever your baby is normally active and pay attention to their movement. So thank you for giving other expectant parents permission to kind of carve out that time. And sometimes, depending on what your baby's normal is, it really does not always take that much time depending on their normal, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know that little Lena, and this continues to play out today, right? Like she's just a busy little girl. So I feel like our kick counts there were always pretty fast. But again, that also gives you the idea of what change of movement could indicate, right? Like if it's an especially active day or if it's kind of slowing down. Both of those things are things worth calling your provider over.
Absolutely. What did the app ultimately do to alert you to a change in Lena's movements? How did it get her here safely exactly?
Yeah, so again, with experiencing loss previous to Lena, we had kind of a heightened awareness of everything that we needed to do with our baby. So we were going in for extra non-stress tests. And there had been a few times where things just didn't look great, but the baby was still moving and the non-stress test passed. And so we were allowed to go home. And so it was nice to both like have the app to plug in between those appointments where you're on the monitor and you have the reassurance of the whole nursing staff with you at that moment. But there was a few weeks, I think we would have been at like 34 weeks, where I did fail a non-stress test and got put in the hospital for overnight monitoring. So that was an amplification of just how aware we needed to be. And then they kind of did the same thing where they say, well, we think you're fine. Why don't you go home and just keep monitoring for a while? And we were back in the hospital, I think just 2 weeks later, looking at a same barely reactive non-stress test. And I was able to show them the chart on the Count the Kicks app and say, listen, like this has been slowing incrementally down for the last day. I think it's time. And so all of us, I feel like I had really excellent providers, thankfully, and I could put a lot of trust into them, but I was also able to trust my gut feelings and the data that I had literally in my pocket on my phone to say, I'm ready to do this. So if the baby's in a safe position and we can get this done today, let's please do.
We often talk about the app being a data download for mom's intuition, because so many times as expectant parents, we'll have a feeling, we'll notice something is off, but this app gives you that real-time data that something is in fact off, gives you the confidence to call your doctor, gives you the proof to show your doctor to run that non-stress test, do that ultrasound biophysical profile if something changes. And so we encourage any expectant parent or provider who's out there right now watching or listening to to use the app. Use the app when you talk to expectant parents. If you are expecting yourself, it's free. It's so easy to use. And again, it's in 16 languages. There are no ads. There are no pop-ups. Something else that's really important to tell anyone out there who's listening about the app is your data is very secure. We do not share your information. We do not sell your information. There are no ads, no pop-ups. It is something that is extremely secure, and you can trust that the tool is here. We're a nonprofit providing this because we simply want you to pay attention. We want it to you to have it as a free tool in your pregnancy. We are not making money off of this. This is something that is simply a tool in your pregnancy. And so again, we don't share your information. We don't sell it. We don't do anything with it. We occasionally will do research on our app users, like we showed you how it lowers anxiety and helps bond with baby, but that's only with your permission. So Carly Ann, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your love for Lena with us. And we will come back to you also in just a few minutes. So
thank you guys for all you do.
yeah, thank you so much, Carly Ann. The Count the Kicks app, as we mentioned, is an awesome tool for monitoring your baby's movements, but we have additional ways that moms can count. Check out these cool kick counting bands. They are available in some states currently, but not everywhere due to limited funding in some states. So they are great for moms who do not have access to a smartphone or strong internet connection or broadband or Wi-Fi. They are terrific in rural areas. They work just like the app where you move the little cursor, that little black band on the band, every time you feel a movement while timing how long it takes your baby to get to 10 movements. This Giving Tuesday, you can help get more kick counting bracelets into the hands of expectant parents who need them. Simply scan the QR code on the screen or visit the website on the screen as well. Thank you so much for making a difference for families. Now, one of our perhaps most famous baby safe story is a 6-year-old named Ruby, who in 2017 appeared on Good Morning America, Inside Edition, USA Today, Washington Post, many more. Take a look at Ruby's story.
We have a healthy baby girl, and we could have had a burial instead.
Ruby is lucky to be alive, and her mom says that's largely thanks to an app. The free app called Count the Kicks aims to prevent stillborn deaths by helping moms record their baby's movements.
You can just tap the baby's footprint every time you feel a movement. A movement could be a kick, a roll, or a jab.
Used at the same time every day, the app tracks how long it takes to reach 10 kicks, helping mom learn what's normal for her baby.
And we also send calendar reminders and text reminders so that moms are reminded to do it once a day in the 3rd trimester.
For the ECOFs, everything was going smoothly until one day last month.
The kicks were not happening as frequently as they usually did, and when she did move, it was really like soft, subtle, not like hard kicks like normal.
Emily knew from the app that her baby normally kicked 10 times in under 10 minutes, so when she only logged 3 kicks in an hour, she rushed to the hospital.
All of a sudden, they came in and said, "You're going to have an emergency C-section."
The umbilical cord had wrapped around the baby 3 times, limiting her movement. Doctors delivered Ruby just in the nick of time.
Not only has Ruby been saved, but potential generations have been saved.
Everybody always asks us, what is Ruby up to now? How is she doing? And we are so excited to see 6-year-old Ruby with us tonight and her mama, Emily, as seen on Good Morning America and elsewhere. It is so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us, Ruby and Emily. How are you guys doing now?
We are good, yes. First grade for Ruby and doing all the average 6-year-old girl things, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, absolutely. How much does Ruby know about Count the Kicks and the role that it has played in her last 6 years?
So we've been able to attend the Count the Kicks luncheon in the spring, well, since she was born, but in the last year or two, she is starting to connect what happened in her story and just us explaining things as a family a lot, and she's starting to understand how big of a deal it was.
Ruby, what are you up to? What are some of your favorite things to do?
I like to play with my brother's sister.
You like to play with brother
and sister?
What else?
I like to play with my grandma.
And your
Visit grandma, she said.
Nice. Did you guys have a nice Thanksgiving? That's so awesome. So everybody knows that you're quite famous after appearing on Good Morning America and many other places 6 years ago, but and more than 350 people heard Ruby's story in 2017 when our app downloads increased by 3,700%. Your story was so powerful that it went viral again just this past August on social media, places like TikTok and Instagram. It led to another huge spike in app downloads. And that's one of the things that we have discovered at Count the Kicks. When moms like you, Emily, and Carly Ann, and Destiny, and Vanessa, and so many others share their story, it is the number one influence to get other expectant parents to download the app to pay attention to their baby's movements. We know the impact of Ruby on us in the program and our organization. What do you think has been the impact of Count the Kicks on your family?
Well, at the time of her birth, it was just such a whirlwind. I think it probably took me a year to maybe fully realize the timing of everything, how close it was, and what the app did for us. It's cool to see that it's still being impactful and people are watching it. And I think it will be a lifelong thing just to know that what we experienced had a huge ripple effect. And I think that will be powerful just for Ruby and growing up too. So for us, it's been life changing. And at the time it was, it sort of felt like a dream being on all these things, just having a newborn. And over time, it's really sunk in just how amazing her story is.
And one of the things that I always remember about your story is that you had just recently had a very normal, great, healthy checkup. And it wasn't long after that when you were using the app that you noticed a change. Like you had literally just recently seen her on an ultrasound that she was healthy and doing well and moving great. Tell me more about what what triggered you to call your doctor? And there was a question in the chat about did you show them the app or did they just listen to what you had to say?
So for me, it was a 1 day change. So I had normal everything up until the day she was delivered. So that day is when I noticed it wasn't normal because she was very active. It was very quick, 10 movements in 10 minutes pretty regularly. So then when it slowed way down, I noticed, and it was just that day. So when we decided to go in finally, we went straight to labor and delivery. So we didn't even, I mentioned the app after she was born. So we didn't use the app to monitor at all. It was that day things changed. I went in, they monitored, and they made the decision to deliver.
Mm-hmm. We are so glad that you were paying attention, that you were taken seriously, and that gorgeous Ruby is here with us. It is so awesome to see you. We love having you at our annual Changemakers Luncheon. It is the highlight of the luncheon every year to see you on stage with other Baby Safe families. It is just the best thing. It is just words can't even describe what it's like to see you and know that you have this awesome daughter who knows what she's going to grow up to be. Do you have any thoughts about does she talk about maybe what she might want to be when she grows up?
Work at the grocery store.
Work at the grocery store. She loves the store.
Oh, that's awesome. Wouldn't that be so fun? Yes, that would be a great job. That is awesome, Ruby. Well, thank you guys so much. We're going to come back to you in just a minute, but thank you guys so much for joining us for your powerful, powerful advocacy, Ruby and Emily. We're so blown away by the impact that your family's story has had on our work, and just so grateful that you're sharing that with us. So let's bring back the whole entire panel together now, and we are going to go round robin with Carly Ann, Destiny, and Emily, and then also Dr. Sims. We know it takes a village. You know, we talked about the doctors and nurses who helped these babies arrive safely. It is nurses, doctors, home visitors, doulas, midwives, friends, family, in addition to empowered and in-touched moms. Oh, Sonara's waving at us. Hi, Sonara. So for the moms that are on the call, you obviously played a massive role in helping get your baby here safely. Who else do you credit with helping get your baby here safely? Destiny, we'll start with you. Who was there anyone else that encouraged you to speak up or?
Yeah, absolutely. Most importantly was my mom. My mom was my right hand man during this pregnancy, and she even told me to wake her up when I went to the hospital, but I didn't. I just got out of there to get the baby. And my doctor, Dr. Karen Drake, she is amazing. She's a high risk doctor here at Methodist, and she watched us the entire time. She knew my history of me going through a stillborn, and she put me at ease. And she also listened to me when I felt like there was something wrong, when I had concerns. She made sure she stayed on top of it. So I mean, and of course my family as well, but those two are two big impactful people that helped during my pregnancy.
Absolutely. Round of applause for them. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing, Destiny. What about you, Carly-Ann? Were there other people in your life? Was it a doula, a spouse, a partner, an aunt? Who else helped play a role in getting Lena here safely?
Oh my gosh, I would agree with Destiny, right? Like the list is so long of people when you start to think back of all of everything from the small conversations and encouragement you have to, yeah, those really massive decisions that you're making with your providers. But it was awesome to have my husband, also nudging me to say, hey, how's Count the Kicks? Show me this graph. And then I think the other thing that really hits me is how many moms that you talk to from all generations who, once they learn that you've had a loss or that anytime you're pregnant, really, it's a very visible condition that people feel empowered to talk about, right? But I think just all of the stories of people who have been through something similar, or, I know my grandma had a loss back in the 1960s, and it was one of those things where she was basically drugged and babies were whisked away. It was such a traumatic experience for her. So to hear the stories like that and realize that we've come a long way and that we have a long way yet to go, I felt like was something that kept me going while I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing, Carly-Ann. And Emily and Ruby, if you're still there, Emily, was there anyone else other than the doctors and nurses taking you seriously? Anyone else in your life encouraging you to speak up if you noticed a change?
Well, for sure, the OB/GYN practice that I went to, giving me the materials in the first place, but also when it came down to the decision to go in, I struggled with just wasting time and it being nothing. And my husband was the one that said, no, we're going. And so a lot of this was because of him knowing me and me just going. And I think also it's God's plan for Ruby and us, and how many people came about from Ruby's story. I don't feel like I did much because I really was on the fence. I didn't feel confident at the time. And now knowing, I give my confidence to other people who ask me now, because a lot of people ask me, I'm not feeling, what would you do? Not that I'm an expert, but that has definitely helped me in giving advice for sure.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Emily. I think oftentimes we just don't want to bother providers, or we think that we're overreacting, but there really is no replacement for your gut instinct, for what the app is telling you. You have to listen to what your body and your baby are telling you. And I am so glad that you all had that information and were able to use it to speak up, and that your doctors then took you seriously and got your babies here safely. It is the best news of the day. We're so excited that your babies are here, and that you're here sharing your story. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. So Dr. Sims, you get the last word. What is your message to expectant parents about Count the Kicks tonight?
Well, actually, this is actually perfect timing because, Emily, you mentioned, not being an expert, but I often say when I go and do talks that you are the expert. You are the expert of your body, and you know your body more than anyone else, including your provider. So me as an OBGYN, I'm an expert in women's health, and I know the physiology of pregnancy. I know the physiology of, just life in general. And so as a result, I can give you my professional opinion. However, you know your body, you know what's going on at home. And as a result, we as providers have to listen to what you have to say because you live with yourself every single day. So again, I say you are the expert of your body and you are the expert of what is normal for you. So when you can tell that there is a difference, it is my job as the provider to listen to you. And I'll tell you all this. If you feel that your provider is not listening, you find another person to see if they will listen. You go to an emergency room. You go to another emergency room until someone listens and evaluates you and you feel like the evaluation was sufficient to give you ease in your heart.
All right, expectant parents out there, let Dr. Sims and Carly Ann and Destiny and Emily be the voice in your head, to trust listening to yourself and listening to the data and seeing the data that's in the app and knowing what your normal is. So let them continue to be the voice in your head as you pay attention to your baby's movements. And I just want to say thank you all. Thank you guys so much for joining us, for sharing your stories, and for being a part of this work. It really does take a village to help get more babies here safely. And we're just so grateful that you're here sharing these stories. And for everyone who joined us tonight, thank you so much. One last reminder that we do have a fabulous $10,000 match to Giving Tuesday donations that will take place through tomorrow night. So this year, this is pretty cool. Any donor who donates $100 or more will receive a $50 gift card from the spa at West Glen in West Des Moines, Iowa. The gift card is good for services in their spa and for products in their online shop. So if you're not in Iowa, that's okay. You can go on their online shop as well and use your gift card. Donors who donate or fundraise $250 or more will receive this exclusive Do Good Things shirt as a thanks for supporting our mission to save babies through Count the Kicks. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. You can see the QR code on your screen to celebrate progress. We're so grateful that you're celebrating progress with us tonight. We've seen people from all over the country joining us tonight, both on Zoom and on Facebook. It's so awesome to start Giving Tuesday this way, to celebrate the progress and the work that happens when we all come together. It's not one person, it's all of us making this change in this country so that more babies do arrive safely. In this season of gratitude and giving, we ask you to consider making a gift to help get more babies here safely. We couldn't do this work without the help of supporters like you, and every donation, every share and act of kindness counts. Thank you so much for joining us, and together we can improve birth outcomes for more moms and babies. We hope you all have an awesome night, and thank you again for spending time with us.